This month's topic is about the influence you never had and the influence you get to be. Okay, this is something that's been coming up a lot in our coaching sessions and with a lot of different students. So, I want to ask the questions. What were the three things that we were taught to never discuss with others? Money, politics, religion. We were always taught never discuss these things with anybody else, right? For whatever reason. Okay. And my big question is, how did this serve us? Right? Did that serve you well? Yeah, exactly. When it comes especially to finances, which is what we're here for, how did that serve us? It didn't, right? It actually did a disservice to us. Okay. For some reason, finance has become this taboo subject. And only 30% of 7% of people say a parent taught them about money, right? And only 12% say that they learned from a teacher in school. Okay. Now, I'm guessing you guys here on this call and probably you for watching the recording, those statistics are probably lower, right? The people whose parents in school did teach them about money probably aren't going to be looking up Money Mastery Live calls, right? And looking to get help with it, right? So we, myself included, are in the bucket of probably even fewer percentage of us whose parents talked to them about money or had anything taught to us along the way. Okay. And so the kind of guiding mindsets along this lesson plan are taken from two of our core values. The first one is number 8, which is I don't simply aim to take care of myself alone. I aim beyond this in hopes of blessing, generously blessing others on top of it. Okay. And the other guiding principle here is our 10th core value, which is I am a leader in my home and in my community. I will always remain ready and prepared to serve those around me. Right. So, you guys on this call, you guys have heard me talk about this time and time again. And if this is your first time watching this recording and hearing me, I'm big on having you understand that you are a leader, whether you realize it or not. And what that means is that you have influence in your life. And the one kind of key mindset nugget I want you to take away from today's call is that mastering my money goes far beyond just myself. Okay. A lot of students come to me, and you're probably watching the recording right now because you need to figure out mastering money for yourself, right? You got bills to pay, you got debts to catch up on, you have money that you want to build wealth and build retirement for, and that's all good and that's all great. Okay, but I want you to take it a step further mentally and understand that mastering your money goes far beyond just you. Why? Because you have influence. And you now have an opportunity to be the influence that you never got. Does this make sense? So many of us are struggling financially because nobody talked to us about money. Nobody taught us about money. Okay, so now here we are looking up educational material, signing up for coaching programs to help us with this. Okay, but we have an opportunity now to kind of look back in our life of who do we have influence over that I can make sure that this doesn't repeat itself. Okay, so let's get a little practical. Okay, I want to give you 4 steps on how can I help with this influence? Right, step 1, lead by example. Okay, what does that mean? Master your money. For those of you guys here live on the call with me, I know that you're already taking that step and doing that, right? If you're watching the recording, be honest with yourself, right? Have I even figured this out? It gets really hard to influence or help others, right? And I'm going to rephrase that a little bit. You're influencing people whether you know it or not, and whether it's for the good or for the bad. You have that as a leader in your home, your community, your workplace, whatever. You are influencing somebody already. Okay. When it comes to the topic of finance, it's which way are you influencing them? Right. And so, step number 1, lead by example, master your money and know what you're talking about. Truth be told, it's probably why our parents didn't talk to us, right? Because they probably didn't have it figured out and they didn't really even know how to translate that to us. Okay. So, step 1, lead by example. Step 2, be vulnerable. What does this mean? Well, we have it wired into us to never talk about finances, right? It's embarrassing, it's challenging, it's a hot topic item, it's emotional, whatever the reason might be, right? But the number 2 step of how you can start influencing those around you in a positive way is be vulnerable. That means opening up, being honest about where we're at, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean they need to know every detail about your finances, right? But get comfortable with phrases like, hey, you know what? That's not in the budget. So, no, I'm not going out. Or, no, we're not getting that thing. Okay. Be comfortable with saying that stuff, right? One thing you want to be conscious of is not coming off as a flex, which only further shuts people down, right? A
Yeah.
flex is the opposite of being vulnerable, right? But in this case, right, being honest of like, well, I have a plan that tells me that I can do this and that my goals are still intact. That is being vulnerable about I have a plan, right? I have a budget, right? And to be honest, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but there is a little bit of like the cool kid kind of thing of like, oh, you have a budget, nerd, right? Or whatever, right? And being kind of almost embarrassed to share that, right? As if something's wrong with you. That's what I mean by being vulnerable. Because more often than not, when you bring this kind of stuff up, people get intrigued, people get curious. It's how Metanoia started, right? Because I would say this kind of stuff to peers and just friends around me and family members, and they'd say, You're what now? Your budget? Right? Back then it was a spreadsheet, right? You have a spreadsheet, right? Like, what does this look like? What do you mean you have a system? Right? And they would become inquisitive. They would want to know more, right? That is kind of the step two here of be vulnerable, right? Once you're mastering your money, start talking about it a little bit. Okay. So, step three, ask the uncomfortable questions. Okay. Here's the thing, most people are not going to start the conversations. Okay. Most of the people that you are influencing won't start the conversation. One, because maybe they're not even thinking about it, or maybe they feel scared or nervous or uncomfortable. Okay. But remember, when you are in a position of influence, you are in a position of leadership, and you have to be the one that's going to lead that way. Okay. So by being vulnerable, you're kind of opening the doors for the conversation. But more often than not, you're going to be the one that has to ask the uncomfortable questions of, well, what are you doing for your money? How do you manage your money? Can you imagine somebody coming up to you and asking that? Back to our taboo topics, right? Nobody would ever say this, right? But we're going to be those weirdos that actually steward our influence well. Start the conversations, ask the uncomfortable questions. It doesn't need to be, how much debt do you have? Right? It doesn't have to get crazy out the gates, right? But ask the uncomfortable questions. And finally, step four, when the time is right, offer the help. All of these things are going to lead up to that point. Okay, you being excellent with your money, one of the things that got my peers curious is like, hey, man, I know what you make because we work together. Why does your life look so different than mine? Okay, next is being vulnerable and talking about it and being open and honest about it. And then next is asking the uncomfortable questions of, what are you doing for your money? And when they say, which more often than not, if you asked your peers this, they would say, nothing really. That's when we open the door to, well, I'd love to show you what I'm doing if you think it would be helpful. This is how we can take practical steps towards actually applying what we're talking about today. Okay. The big thing, the big takeaway I want you guys to have for this, and we're going to go into some discussion here in a sec, is mastering your money, which you're all here to do, and you're watching this recording to do, goes far beyond yourself. And my hope is that we can leverage this mindset to push us far beyond just mastering it for ourselves. Okay. And I want us to have that significance behind it. Remember earlier in our call, I mentioned the why, right? To stack up that why I'm doing this even further. Okay. And when we go into the discussions, I'm going to have you actually think about the people in your life that you're influencing. Okay. And I want you to leverage that to help push you through this journey of changing your trajectory and mastering your money. Because as you all know, it's no sunshines and rainbows path. It's difficult, and we need all the leverage we can get. Okay. So, that all being said, let's get into some discussion questions. I'm going to go over these, and then I want you guys to actually take some time, think about them, write some notes down, whatever is in your process. And I want to go ahead and open the floor to discuss it with you guys. Okay, first question. I want you to take a moment to think about everyone in your life that you have influence over, whether it's in your family, at work, in your community. Okay, at first I was going to make this presentation about parents and their children, but then I realized as I was doing my research and kind of prepping things, influence goes so much further than that, right? That's a very high level of leadership and influence, but influence goes so much further than that. Maybe you have siblings, maybe you have nieces or nephews, maybe you have colleagues at work, maybe you have subordinates at work, right? Maybe you have people in your church, people at your gym, people at your whatever club you might be part of. We all have influence, and I want you to take some time to think about who they are. Specifically, name them in your head, write them down. Who do you have influence over? Next, have you ever had any kind of conversation with them about money? Be honest with yourself, right? Have you ever had any type of conversation with them about money? More often than not, the answer is no, I haven't. Okay, and I want you thinking about that. Okay, and whether it was about their money, your money, or just money in general, have you ever talked about money with these people that you have influence over? Okay, and I'm going to say this. You guys are here right now or watching this because you've gotten to a point where you realized money was important enough for you to dedicate your time, your money, your whatever into bettering yourself in that department. And because you've made that decision already, right, you can't back out of the fact that your influence over others should include their finances. Does that make sense? Your actions by being here today and watching this show me that finances are important enough for you to invest into. So therefore, we can't use the scapegoat that it's not important enough to be part of your influence over others. Last, what is one way you can begin stewarding your influence over even just one of the people you thought of when it comes to money mastery? So, of all the people that you thought of, I want you to actually think about taking your first step, right? Any one of these, it doesn't matter, towards influencing that person for the better when it comes to mastering money. Okay. If you're live with me on the call, we're going to go ahead and jump into discussion together. If you're watching the recording, especially inside of our community, I want you to post your answers in the comment section below and start chatting with one another. Okay. This shouldn't just be a monologue from Coach Fern, right? I want you guys engaging with one another. That's how you're going to get the most out of this. Okay. For those of you who are ready to begin working with me directly to make this change, help you master your money so you can begin influencing those around you for the better, right? Because what is step one? Lead by example, right? Good luck, right? Trying to tell your brother to pull the sliver out of his eye when you got the plank in yours. All right, for all my Bible people out there, okay? So if that's you, go ahead and scan this code, check this Money Mastery Accelerator out, and you can fill out an application. Not everybody is going to be approved, but go ahead and fill that out. If you would like for me to personally help you build out your entire budget and plan, walk with you directly to help you sharpen and optimize your strategy and to make sure your hand is being held through this entire process to actually getting to the finish line. Okay? And always remember, Metanoians, this journey was not meant to do alone. Stay involved, stay engaged, and let's continue growing together as a community.